What are big taboos in our society still nowadays? What's a big taboo in your family? Do you talk about taboos with your friends, with your relatives? That's what we're going to talk about in class. And today we're going to review a lot of vocabulary related to this topic. Remember to speak out loud, repeat the examples as you go, activate all this language. I want you to leave this lesson knowing how to use more language than when you entered, when you started. All right? I'm going to share screen now. Let's take a look at some language. The first one, obviously, taboo. Okay, we write the same way in Portuguese, taboo. So that is a big taboo. Okay, or talking about death. Talking about death is a big taboo in our society, isn't it? Talking about death is a big taboo. Repeat. Stigma. Okay, getting divorced used to be a stigma in your life. A stigma. And there is a stigma around therapy. There is a stigma around therapy. Okay? Stigma. And a sensitive topic. That's a sensitive topic. All right? So be careful because this is a sensitive topic for him. This is a sensitive topic for him. Sensitive. Repeat. Controversial. Take a look at the pronunciation here.
Controversial, controversial.
Controversial. Controversial. Okay? For example, nowadays, abortion remains a controversial topic. Abortion remains a controversial topic. Controversial. What topics are controversial? And boundaries, limites, okay? Boundaries. People should respect personal boundaries. Personal boundaries. Okay, you believe in A, I believe in B, move on with your life and let me be. People should respect personal boundaries. And this generational gap, okay? So parents and children often clash. They fight because of generational gap, because of the generational gap. Parents and kids often clash because of the generational gap, right? So a gap is a difference, a space between two generations. So they don't fully understand one another, right? Silence, okay? They keep silence. Many people keep silence, okay, around taboos. They just keep silence. They keep silence. You can keep silence, okay? Silêncio. Silent is the adjective. Calado, silent. And shame, okay? So taboos are usually connected to feeling shame, to feelings of shame. Taboos are usually connected to feelings of shame, okay? She didn't tell anyone because she felt ashamed. Ashamed. That's the adjective. Ashamed. She's ashamed of what happened. She's ashamed. She is ashamed of what happened. Ashamed. Okay? Judgment. Judgment. Okay? There are lots of things. Oh. We fear people's judgments. We fear people's judgment. We fear people's judgment. Okay? We feel people are gonna, we are afraid people will judge us. Okay? They will judge us. They will criticize us. What about norms? Okay? Older generations tend to believe we should follow the norms. You cannot question the norms, all right? Social norms. Social norms decide what's acceptable and what isn't. Social norms. Repeat, social norms. And salary. Salary. People rarely talk about their salaries. And that's interesting because in the US, for example, they talk openly about it. This is how much money I make a year. This is how much money I want to make. This is how much money my boss is making. Everybody knows about everybody's salary. And in Brazil, somehow, for some reason, this is a huge taboo. We don't talk about it, right? What about debt? We don't talk about money and we don't talk about debt either. It's when you owe people money. You get a loan from the bank and now you have a debt that you got to pay. The B is silent. We don't say debt. We say debt. Debt. Okay? So they got into debt. Okay? To go on that trip. Debt. Okay? People feel ashamed of their debts. They don't want to talk about it. They feel ashamed of their debts. Okay? What about savings? Okay? Savings. Savings. How much money do you have in your savings? Nas suas economias? Do you save money? Has anyone ever taught you how to save money? What about your expenses? Are you in full control? Are you in full control of your expenses? Yes or no? Your expenses. Are your expenses increasing or decreasing? No one's expenses are decreasing, right? Financial literacy, financial education, okay? Schools should have financial education. They should have financial literacy. Schools should have financial education. And wealth, okay? Talking about personal wealth makes people uncomfortable. Talking about personal wealth. Wealth means how much money you have, okay? Riqueza, o dinheiro. And wealthy is the adjective, which means rich. They're very wealthy, okay? He comes from a very wealthy family. Wealth and wealthy, okay? What about transparency? Transparency. People and companies now are asking for salary transparency. Have you heard about it? Salary transparency. So you know how much you're going to get paid. You know if there is a career, plan. So that's transparency. And generosity. 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 Generosity is lacking. Generosity. To be generous. To be generous. Generosity and generous. Okay? Now, taboos in our society. How would you answer these questions? I'm gonna provoke you now. Try to answer these questions out loud. What topics are considered taboos in your family? Do you talk about them or you avoid them? In your opinion, what are the main taboos in our society today? This is what we're going to talk about in class. This is the questions that we're going to discuss, the ideas that we're going to develop, okay? Because we don't want to be basic anymore. You guys are intermediate students and you want to be advanced. You want to reach advanced. So you need to force yourself to elaborate more complex ideas. For example, what are the main taboos in our society today? And why do you think these topics are taboos until nowadays, until today? Do you think taboos change over time? Can you give an example? Is there anything that used to be a taboo in the past, but it's not a taboo anymore? I have an example, divorce. It used to be a huge taboo in our grandparents' generation. You don't need to go much further. Our grandparents' generation, right? It used to be a taboo and it's not a taboo anymore. Are taboos always negative? Can they sometimes protect society? That's an interesting question. Which taboo do you think is the hardest to break? And I'm giving some ideas. Money and finance, death and dying, mental health issues, sex and sexuality. Which taboo do you think it's the hardest to break and why? Put your comment, put your opinion and your ideas in the comments below so I can give you some feedback. Let's talk about expressions. This is not something people usually talk about. Money, well, this is not something people usually talk about, okay? There's a lot of stigma attached to it. There's a lot of stigma attached to it, all right? I don't know, tattoos on your face. There's a lot of stigma attached to it, right? That's a sensitive subject. That's a sensitive subject. That's a sensitive topic. She is very open about it. She's very open about it, okay? He is very open about it. So she talks about the topic easily. Let's say money. She's very open about money. She's very open about religion. Like she is very religious, but she's also very open, very respectful. Okay? It's hard to break the silence around this topic. It's hard to break the silence around this topic. Nobody wants to talk about this. So it's hard to break the silence around this topic. Hopefully by now, you've spoken a lot of English with me. You've activated a lot of language. You paused the video. You repeated the examples. You tried to answer the questions I showed you. Let's take your English to the next level. I'm doing my part and you got to do yours. I'll see you in class.